Right now, yesterday's deadly Metro North derailment. What happened and what is the status of our rail system overall? We're going to ask a lawmaker who oversees that for New York State. And then D-Day number 2 for Obamacare. Was the website ready for prime time this time? And can it ever be considered a success politically and practically? Plus, our obsession with shopping. Is the Amazon delivery drone really a good idea? We'll talk about the madness of Black Friday and even some of the questions about safety and security attached to those promotions. Is our new holiday normal basically out of control? All that plus, we're going to sit down with a 23-year Albany veteran for an insider's look at the state government and the people who run it. We'll get a very busy 60 minutes kicked off right now. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French and thank you for joining us this Monday evening, December 2nd. We begin, though, with yesterday's deadly derailment on the Metro North commuter line and the grim work today of trying to figure out what happened and, almost as importantly, why. Officials with the NTSB say they have got the train's black boxes, those are the voice data recorders, and they're hoping they may lead to answers. And for the very latest, let's turn now to Phyllis One's Giovanna Durpic, and she is live near the scene of the crash in the Spuyten Duyvil section of the Bronx. Giovanna?
That's right. Well, first we want to point out that these are not final results. These are only preliminary findings. Now, those event data recorders have been sent to Washington, D.C. for review. But imagine this. NTSB investigators say that train was barreling through over the speed limit in a 70-mile-an-hour zone before it approached a 30-mile-an-hour curve. And then it crashed. Train 8808 was roaring down the track at breakneck speed, going into the curve. So just how fast was it going?
It was traveling at approximately 82 miles per hour as it went into a 30-mile-an-hour curve. That speed again was 82 miles an hour at the entrance to a 30-mile-an-hour curve. Approximately 6 seconds before the rear engine of the train came to a stop, the throttle was reduced to idle. Approximately 5 seconds before the rear engine came to a stop, the brake pressure dropped from 120 psi to 0, resulting in full application of the brakes.
The question remains, was it human error or a problem with the equipment?
The answer is, at this point in time, we can't tell. At this point in time, the data is preliminary, but we can say, here's what happened. We know speeds and positions and power settings and brake application.
And the train engineer, 46-year-old William Rockefeller Jr., says that he did apply the brakes, but they just didn't take. Now keep in mind, he is a 20-year veteran of Metro North, and by all accounts, safety was his priority. We also want to point out that the NTSB investigators say that this train made 9 stops prior to this crash, but they still don't know if there were any problems at any of those stops. And finally, we can tell you that those 7 train cars are now upright, and so is the locomotive. Interviews with Rockefeller Jr. continue tomorrow, as well as with 3 other crew members. That's the very latest from the Riverdale section of the Bronx. Back to you.
All right, Giovanna, thank you very much. And obviously, we're learning more. The toxicology reports still haven't come out here, but we know that the rate of speed in excess of double of what was supposed to happen at a place where they have had derailments in the past. But there are many questions beyond just this train line, this conductor here, who's in charge, and also, more importantly, when will some additional safety measures we see on different rail systems around this country be applied now to the metropolitan area? Earlier today, I spoke to State Senator Fischillo, who oversees the transportation in Albany for New York State here. Here's part of our conversation. And for more on the accident and the investigation, as well as the general state of our rail systems, we turn to New York State Senator Charles Fischillo, and he is the chairman of the State Senate Transportation Committee, which has oversight over the state's rail system, among other things. Republican representing Merrick and other portions of Nassau County. Senator, thank you very much for a few minutes. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's not my imagination, right? This is there's been a few times the last couple of years we've been talking about derailments, thankfully without this form of tragedy attached to it, but still, we've seen derailments in our region in the past 24 months, haven't we?
Yes, we have. We've seen too many. There's been a couple on the Metro North rail line, as you know, this past summer and back in May, and now this tragic event that just happened.
You probably know this well before this weekend, but I learned about positive train control, and I know that this train didn't have it. Among other things, what it allow to have happen is whether the operator, and we don't know the facts yet completely in the case, whether there was excessive speed here or that there was operator error, that there was a possibility of a kill switch somewhere else that would have modified it. We don't have it in a lot of our trains in our area, do we?
Well, no, we don't, but Congress enacted that back in 2008 and required it to be done by 2015. My understanding is the MTA is recently, or they're about to award a contract for that. That's the PTC. That would have made the difference here. What we're finding out, Richard, is this looks like it was just excessive speed.
Help us out here, Senator. Is there too many alphabet soups in terms of who's in charge of this? Are you comfortable with not just the investigation, but let's say the NTSB is done and they give the findings here. Who's in charge to make sure that the railways are not only safe, they're compliant, and we've got the right oversight in charge?
Well, look, we're going to have to wait and see what the NTSB does. It appears their investigation is going to take about 10 days. Then they'll turn over their report to the MTA. But, I've called on the NTSB and the United States Department of Transportation, which is obviously the federal government, to come in and inspect all our rails and make sure that they are adequate and they are safe. But in this case here, there's a couple of options here for error. Is it mechanical error? Is it track error? Or is it human error? And by all accounts, Richard, it seems like this train was traveling excessive speeds around that bend, which has a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. Prior to that, they were able to go 70 miles an hour, but it appears that this was excessive speed.
You comfortable here that when this is said and done, and as you mentioned, that Congress has mandated, I think it's by 2015, that they have to implement, among other things, this positive train control, that's what we're going to need? Or some of these problems chronic in nature where we need to do a top-down study about how safe both the trains are and all the other things you mentioned?
Well, it's all of the above. It's everything you've just mentioned, but we're hopeful as a result of this tragedy that the MTA does not wait till 2015 to put that PTC device in all these trains as an added measure of safety. That's what this is all about, ensuring that its passengers are fully safe. But, as I said before, this looks like it's leading towards human error, that the train was traveling too fast. Remember, that curve and those tracks have been there for decades, and thousands and thousands of people are on those trains every single day that head to Grand Central Station, and it is safe. So now we have a tragedy, and we have to ensure that the MTA and all those interested parties learn from this tragic event, and this never happens again.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Senator Fischel, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And of course, here we will continue to follow this investigation and where it goes. More information should be coming out in the coming days here. But a sidebar on the crash here was the absence, as you saw, of Mayor Michael Bloomberg. We saw Governor Cuomo there as well as all the other officials. But not only was the mayor, who leaves office, as many of you know, on January 1st, not in attendance at the crash site yesterday, he didn't interrupt the round of golf, even after he was briefed on the crash. The mayor was playing while on vacation in Bermuda, and when asked about his absence and the decision to keep on playing, the mayor responded, "What can I do? I'm not a professional firefighter or a police officer." Now, he did come back and was back in the region by late evening and did pass personally on his condolences to the families that lost loved ones yesterday, but still a question about that has come up over the years here about being an absentee mayor at times. You saw that come up after a storm in the past. All right. When we come back, we will switch gears away from New York City to a national issue, and I'm talking about Obamacare. Healthcare.oops version 2.0, the administration's self-imposed second deadline. It has come and gone. But the question is the health reform website any better? We'll bring our roundtable in to talk about that and much more straight ahead.